Hi, this is Carlos. Look for my book, Lessons from Mars, at Amazon or wherever you buy books, or visit my website, lessonsfrommars.net. Hi, this is Carlos Valdez-Tepena, and I welcome you to this podcast. Today, we're talking about real teams. So I was working on this framework, and if you haven't listened to any previous podcasts, I've described my time at Mars, the request that I create a module that would go into one of our management development programs about teams and teamwork. And as a result, after doing some research on teams I'd worked with, I came up with a framework. And I remember my boss in the early days of the framework development, it still hadn't been tested broadly, but the basic foundations were there. He said, well, is this for real teams, or is it for groups, or what? And I answered him, I admit it fairly smugly. I said, yes, it is. So here's the thing. There is a school of thought out there, and it's actually grounded in some really fine work by some great academics and researchers, that there are real teams and not real teams. There are certain aspects of a group, certain traits that will make it either a real team or something else, and I won't go into all the variations. So here's the differentiator. I stopped worrying about what's a real team and what's not when I discovered that the key was to identify which work required collaboration and which didn't, and to focus on that. The reality was at Mars that every group that got together, whether it was 6 finance people in Nashville, Tennessee, or a group of global R&D people meeting at a big hotel in London, they would refer to themselves as a team. That's just language people use. I said previously, we've gotten kind of sloppy about how we use the word. You know what? I decided that's not a battle worth fighting. If you're 80 R&D people meeting in London, and I was there for this, and you want to call yourself a team, that's fine. The key is, what's the work within that 80 people that might require some level of collaboration? Probably nothing among the entire 80. But what about groups of 3 or 4 or sub-teams of 10? That's actual collaboration could happen at that level, and that's what I focus on. So when it comes to teams being real or not real, one key is don't focus on the size of the group. I was working with the Mars Global M&Ms team, and this was another group of about 80 people. We were meeting in Russia at the time, and I remember a debate I had with the leader of this team, telling him, this was before I developed the framework, telling him, yeah, but you're not a real team, so let's not call it a team. And he insisted, no, we're a team, we're cohesive, we're all on the same brand. And this was a very frustrating and ultimately useless conversation, right? It did not matter how big the team was. And it doesn't, so, right? The key is, where are the, what I call units of collaboration? Who needs to be involved and what are they going to produce, right? Perfect. I gave up on that whole argument about what's a real team, how big is a real team. Also, something else that doesn't matter. What if you're called a council or a committee or a board? The same rule applies. Think about the units of collaboration and focus on those. So that's my offer, my invitation. I think my good news for those of you who are paying attention to these podcasts, real team, not real team, it's not a debate worth having anymore. Let's move on to what's the work that needs collaboration and how are we going to do it? And let's do our team effectiveness around that. Let's do our relationship building around that. Let that form the strata on which we do all of our team effectiveness work. That approach, I think, yields much better results, creates more value for you and the organizations you're a part of. Thank you very much. Talk to you in the next podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful, please rate the show on iTunes or contact me with your feedback through my website, lessonsfrommars.net. You can find my book, Lessons from Mars, at Amazon or wherever you prefer to buy books, or again, through my website, lessonsfrommars.net.